Welcome to Boomer Between the Games, presented by Xfinity. I'm your host, Boomer Esiason. Now, later on, we're going to discuss that great game in Pittsburgh between the Ravens and the Steelers, and then we'll look forward to some great Week 17 matchups in the NFL. But first, let me introduce our guest on the phone. He is Brian Jones. He's a former NFL linebacker, a college football analyst for CBS Sports Network, and the co-host of Gio and Jones on CBS Sports Radio. Brian, always great to have you. Welcome back. First thing I want to ask you, and I want to talk to you about the Pittsburgh Steelers-Baltimore Raven game last week. It was an unbelievable final 2-minute drive by Ben Roethlisberger. As a matter of fact, it only lasted 1 minute and 9 seconds. 10 plays, 75 yards, the Antonio Brown touchdown, and ultimately the win, the AFC North title, and the number 3 seed in the AFC playoffs. From a defensive perspective, what didn't the Baltimore Ravens do in order to ensure a victory there?
It's interesting. In the first half, they were able to corral Antonio Brown, and in second half, not so much. 1 reception in that first half. Second half, he had 9. Of course, he had the huge touchdown there to win the ball game, but they couldn't get to Big Ben. Big Ben was getting the ball out of his hands, and now you've got to account for Le'Veon Bell. You know that coming into the ball game. Now I've got Jesse James, I got Xavier Trimble, I've got Eli Rogers, all these other games that are not household names outside of Pittsburgh. So he had a multitude of weapons he could go to, and at that point, that offense had such a rhythm, overcoming the interception by Mosley late in the ball game, and then not really doing much in the first half, but turning it up a notch with 21 points in the second, in the second half in the fourth quarter. So I felt like the Ravens were on their heels somewhat. They didn't know, which guy to cover. It was like that scene in Rush Hour. Which one of you guys kicks me? There were so many guys flying around, and Big Ben, we've seen him throughout his career excel in those moments. So I don't know if it was one thing you could pinpoint that the Ravens didn't do, but I just know that Big Ben and with that multitude of weapons, especially guys with the name recognition that showed up and showed out in those moments, you just have to tip your hat to them.
The Eagles snap a losing streak to the Giants, and I don't know about you, Brian. I think that it's been such an inconsistent year in Philadelphia that the future is bright there, and I think they showed you defensively that if they're playing a subpar offense like the Giants, they most likely are going to win that football game.
Well, you're right. Defense. Remember how silly they made Ben Roethlisberger and the high-flying Steelers look early on in the year, and it's been about that defense. They've been pretty respectful all season. We've been singing the praises pretty much all year. Malcolm Jenkins with a couple of picks.
Time for our Twitter question of the week, presented by Xfinity, and this comes from @GinoBalboa77. And Brian, he wants to know: should teams like Dallas, New England, Pittsburgh be resting their players since they already clinched a division title? #BoomerBTG. Now, for me, there are 4 teams that basically have solidified the seedings. That's the Cowboys and the Giants. Cowboys, obviously, number 1 in the NFC. The Giants, number 5 in the NFC. Over in the AFC, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Houston Texans at 3 and 4. There's only one player that I've heard all week long talking about possibly resting and not playing, and that's Ben Roethlisberger, the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know how you feel as a player. As a player, I would want to play. I'd want to continue to keep playing, especially if I'm playing well like the Dallas Cowboys are, or if I'm not playing so well like the New York Giants are. I want to get some sort of rhythm going. I want to build my confidence, and I want to play football. That's what I get paid to do as a football player, and every game matters. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, you've hit all the right notes. I agree. I believe every game matters, and yet you've got to sit there and try to temper your strategy somewhat, because if you got some young players, yes, put them out there. They've never been in this part of the NFL season before, and the playoffs have begun because all these other teams like Washington, they're trying to get in there. A couple other teams are, and so you go out there and you want to get them laddered up and give them a sense of what this time of the year really feels like.
Okay, Brian, let's look ahead to a couple big games this weekend. We just talked about the Washington Redskins and, of course, the New York Giants. The New York Giants really aren't playing for anything other than trying to gain some rhythm, I think, on offense. They may sit some defensive players who are nicked up. For the Washington Redskins, it comes down to this. You win this game, most likely you will secure the number 6 seed in the NFC unless Detroit and Green Bay tie. I don't know what the odds of that are, but it's probably pretty slim, I would imagine. So if you win, you take care of business here at home against the New York Giants, you are in. This is money time for Kirk Cousins. If he wants a big contract and he wants to show the Washington Redskins owners, their fans, the coaches, the rest of the players on the team, he needs to come up big against a very good Giant defense.
Yeah, how you like that part deux for Kirk Cousins? You're correct. Money season, money situation, and playing to get into that second season. They got a taste of it last year, so they know what it feels like. And then the other big matchup, Odell Beckham Jr. And Josh Norman, reprisal of this act. Let's see how these guys behave or whether or not they don't, because it could really be a lot of misfortune for Washington if Norman's not able to control his temper and you have huge penalties in this ball game. So I think, once again, the Giants, if they can't run the rock, and they haven't been able to do that all season long, they're going to have trouble. And they're going up against a defense in Washington, as well as they play in other areas. They're not that great at stopping the run. They're about 24th or 25th in the league.
Quickly, Brian, the Patriots are at the Miami Dolphins. We just talked about the motivation that they have to win this football game. They want to be the number one seed. They want everybody to have to go through Gillette Stadium. I'm not so sure that there's a team right now that can go in there and win. Maybe Pittsburgh can go toe-to-toe offensively with them, but I'm just not so sure that they will be able to hold them down from a defensive standpoint. Bill Belichick and what he has meant to the success of the New England Patriots since 2001, it has been unprecedented in the league. I don't know about you as a former player, but for me, the thing that I would love most about playing for Coach Belichick would be the accountability factor and how he holds everybody in that building accountable, and he only keeps the players that believe in the way he does things. It's amazing to me that in this day and age that it's not even about the money with him. It's always about the rings. It's about winning, and how he has communicated that to the players that are on his team. He's traded guys in the middle of the year like Jamie Collins to Cleveland, and he has done an unbelievable job, I think, of managing this entire organization and being the head coach that he's turned out to be.
Well, most guys would not succeed in that environment because they would probably play scared. But you don't see that from his team. And I think what we get from afar of Coach Belichick is not the real Coach Belichick. Just having talked to guys that have played for him, whether it was New England, whether during his days with the New York Giants, this is a guy that they really like. So while he's tough on you and he's going to hold you accountable, that's something you should appreciate from a very young age. Playing this game, you should want that. But that shouldn't make you go out there and play scared. And these guys, they go out there and they play loosey-goosey. And I love the fact that he holds everyone accountable. And it's not, even the quarterback, Tom Brady, he'll get on him. And so that's what you want to see.
Brian, always great to talk to you. Love your insight. Look forward to talking to you later on down the road. Have a great weekend and Happy New Year, my friend.
Same to you, my man.
Well, that wraps up Boomer Between the Games in the 2016 regular season presented by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way that you experience TV. We certainly look forward to the 2017 playoffs and all the surprises that will bring us. Thanks for joining us this year, everybody. We look forward to seeing you right here next year in 2017. Thanks for tuning in to Boomer Between the Games, presented by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV.